I'm a firin my laser!
Alright, what show will I be reviewing today? Will it be a fun harem like Monster Musume? Will it be a great non-harem like Baka the Test? Or could it finally be that time for my 7-hour-long review of the greatest anime of all time, Heaven's Lost Property? Well, let's see. Today I'll be taking a look at another Harem Isekai. Oh wait, hold up. It's actually one of the rare Harem Isekais that doesn't make me want to pull a Ronnie McNutt. If you couldn't tell by the title, today I'll be reviewing Outbreak Company. I first watched it about 5 years ago, thought it was decent, and gave it a strong 6 out of 10. All I remember is that the concept was great, the main character was decent, but was also disappointed with its ending. Will I still think the same? There's only one way to find out. So, the series starts with our main character Shinichi, who's taking an online exam for an unknown job. After getting a perfect score, he meets with his employer, where he gets Bill Cosby'd and wakes up in a bed with a maid named Yusul. Shinichi can't understand her since she speaks a different language, so to fix this, she gives him a ring to wear. Anyone wearing one of these rings is able to communicate with and understand anyone else who is also wearing one. So anyone who doesn't have one of them won't be able to understand someone if they're talking in a different language. It's pretty simple, makes sense, and is relevant throughout the entire season. I'm glad this show was able to make sense of characters speaking different languages, since the Familiar Zero managed to fuck that up big time. Anyway, Shinichi finds out that he was brought to a world called Ohio, where there's dragons, elves, castles, and all that other fantasy shit. Apparently one day, the evil Joe Biden and his government found a portal underground that led to this world. When they entered, they almost started a war with the natives, but then made peace. However, they want to keep this peace, and one of the ways to do that is by introducing them to something that's only available in their world. And that's where Shinichi comes in. His job is to introduce the world of Ohio to, drum roll please, otaku culture. Yes, Shinichi's job is to introduce this entire kingdom to anime, manga, and video games, which is insanely stupid, but that's why it works so well. I'm sick and tired of all these shitty isekais being boring, lame, and generic. They should do something cool, stupid, and or interesting like this show does. Anyway, yeah, that's what Outbreak Company is mainly about. Shinichi gets the entire kingdom into otaku culture, and that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot actually happens in it, although there are some things to note. For example, in episode 3, Shinichi opens up a school where kids of any race attend to learn about otaku culture. However, as soon as it opens, ISIS comes and tries to kill Shinichi and the Empress Petralka. When I got to this part, I sort of rolled my eyes and was a bit annoyed. I thought, oh boy, here's where the series starts to take itself way too seriously for no reason like in other shows. I sure can't wait to sit through 3 episodes of this snooze fest. But surprisingly enough, that didn't happen, and I actually ended up enjoying this plotline. One of the reasons I like this was because the villain's motive makes sense and is actually sort of interesting. To him, Shinichi and everyone are in the wrong because they are invading his homeland and are going against all his moral values. They're making everyone learn their own culture for no real reason, and they're also putting kids of all races in one school, which isn't normal here. And to a certain extent, I get that. Not the racist part, obviously, but why is it okay that this random guy from another world gets to go against all his values and beliefs like this? He was living his life decently well, but now some jackass comes along and tries to change his entire society. The dude's still clearly in the wrong. I mean, he threatened and tried to kill multiple people, which is a big no-no. But at least I can understand where the guy is coming from, which again, makes the scene and plotline interesting. Also, like I just said, he threatened and tried to kill them, which means there's tension as well as action actual stakes. I know I shouldn't be making a big deal out of this since that's just basic writing, but it's something other isekais managed to lack for some reason. There's also the small payoff of Musil and Petrolko speaking Japanese, which I liked a lot. During the last episode, the two of them started studying Japanese by reading and writing it, and now they're somewhat fluent in the language. So all their hard work managed to pay off here since the terrorists don't know how to speak Japanese and don't understand what they're saying. If that wasn't enough, there's a ton of posters in the backgrounds that are parodies of other anime posters, which made me cringe a lot. Shinichi sticks his face in his bodyguard Minori's nice soft bobas too, so that's spicy goodness. Also, most importantly, this plotline lasts for a total of half an episode. It's short, it's simple, but it's also interesting and entertaining. Other shows like Testament and DxD somehow fail at making a lot of their serious-driven scenes fun and engaging. Yet, somehow this show manages to write one without any problem. This is even more shocking, considering this is one of the only times the show decides to somewhat take itself seriously like this. I understand Outbreak is mainly a slice-of-life comedy, whereas Testament and DxD are much more action-oriented. But still, my point is that a show like this can write something somewhat serious pretty well. Meanwhile, other shows can't, even though that's what half of their runtime consists of. Anyway, yeah, the writing is pretty good. Like I said, although not a lot, the show has some serious moments that are all solid. In episode 8, we find out why Petrolka, who's only 16 by the way, is the Empress of all of Ohio. We find out that her parents died when she was young, and the ones who killed them were her own aunt and uncle. Because of that, she was forced to take over for her parents at a young age and works hard to make sure nothing like that ever happens again. However, she's still just a kid, and because of that, she wants to slack off every now and then and have fun. So she locks herself up in her room and decides to read manga and watch anime for the rest of her life. I wish I could live like that all day, reading manga, watching anime, playing video games, furiously masturbating. Anyway, this results in Shinichi bonding with her and showing her what a real shut-in's life is like. After a day of living like this, she realizes that she shouldn't be a shut-in since others around her care about her, plus she has Call of Duties to attend to as well. I liked Petrolka before, but this episode made me enjoy her even more. Besides that, there's also a mentally challenged dog girl named Elbia who's an artist but also a spy sent from another kingdom. Because she's a spy, Petrolka wants to kill her, but Shinichi's against it and decides to keep her as his personal artist. Shortly after, Shinichi starts suspecting that Elbia isn't really stupid and is only putting on an act, that way she can kill him when his guard is down. Although it turns out that he was wrong the whole time and Elbia really is just stupid. During and even after this episode, I was expecting Elbia to be faking her personality the whole time. I thought later on, or at the end of the season, she would double cross everyone and reveal that she was evil, but surprisingly, that didn't happen. The only reason I thought this was because of the one terrorist scene I went over. The show has proven that it can be genuinely well written, so I was expecting to be bamboozled by this reveal later down the line. But like I said, I was wrong since it just turns out that Elbia rides the short bus.
I'm kind of retarded.
Anyway, everything I just went over only makes up a small portion of the show. Like I said, the show mainly focuses on Shinichi showing everyone why it's cool to like anime and manga. That being said, that's just the main concept of the series, since there really isn't an overarching plot in the show. Hell, there really isn't an end goal either, besides Shinichi sticking a schnitzel in Musil's bunghole. Because of that, the show is mainly episodic, consisting of stories that start and end within the same episode. There's the beach episode, there's one where they make a movie, and oh god, there's even one where they play Satan's sport.
Soccer is against God.
Small things are still progressing in the story, although not by a whole lot, so again, a lot of the show is pretty episodic. There's nothing wrong with this, and it is nice to just relax and enjoy these episodes independently and on their own. However, because of the lack of plot, I don't have much to look forward to, especially during the second half. Now, don't get me wrong, I've complained that other shows like Orosuki and Yamada focus way too much time on their mainline story. Sometimes they can feel very rushed, and I wanted more episodes where the cast can just stick around and enjoy themselves. I'm glad that Outbreak Company isn't like this, and I enjoy that a lot of its runtime is just its characters doing whatever the hell they want. That being said, again, there really isn't a goal in the series besides Shinichi fucking Musil as well as him going back to Japan. It's a very minor complaint, and honestly, I'm only bringing this up because I need something to criticize about the show. The only other minor thing I can think of is that the first episode is a big exposition dump, but even then it was still entertaining and interesting. Plus, all of the info being told was important and was needed in order to understand the show's world. But yeah, in terms of things to complain about, I really got nothing. All the episodes are entertaining, very funny, and are all about the same in terms of quality. So with that, I guess it's time to move on to the last 2 episodes.
What's the deal? You promised me you'd weed the garden today. But I have to finish reading Cooking Mama Volume 10.
Shinichi notices that all the kids in school have become addicted to manga and games. This is mainly due to the shortage in stock, which he receives from the government every so often. It turns out that this shortage was actually done on purpose by the evil Joe Biden. He made Shinichi get everyone addicted to otaku culture so that way he can create a shortage and force the Ohioans to do whatever he wants. Yes, I'm not joking. This was Biden's plan the entire time. It's so over the top and stupid, and that's exactly why it works. These last 2 episodes take themselves notably more seriously than the others, but even so, the concept is so silly, which is why it ends up working. Because Shinichi finds out about the Mueller report, he doesn't want to continue helping them with their plan. So he comes up with his own solution, which is to let Ohio begin making anime and manga for themselves. That way, they won't need to rely on Japan any longer and won't have a shortage of stock anymore. This results in Joe Biden putting the hit on Shinichi, which ends up failing harder than Afghanistan. After that mess, everything goes back to normal for a few months until one day shit hits the fan. The castle is under attack as well as the school too. Of course, everyone lives, and afterwards, Shinichi gets an escape call with Joe Biden. He reveals that he's been receiving money from China, but then, Stinky, the Empress, was listening the whole time. She tells him to go fuck himself, and that's what he does. Later, Shinichi is hanging out with Musil and is about to confess to her.
You see, Musil, I love...
Sir Shinshi! It's time for everyone to go to the castle!
Sure, I'll be right there.
What a sick joke!
What a sick joke indeed, but at least he was wearing an all your base or belong to us shirt. He even wore Steve's shirt from Blue's Clues in episode 2, so that's epic too. Anyway, this is annoying and without a doubt the worst and only part of the anime I didn't like. It's nothing offensive, but considering how good everything else is in the show, this sticks out a lot. Like, would it really have hurt to end the anime here? I guess the studio was expecting to get a 2nd season, or maybe they just wanted to be faithful, but still, this is just irritating. Also, it just ends with Shinichi teaching in his classroom, so that's a pretty anticlimactic way to end the series. Just like every other episode, the last 2 episodes are good, but the last few minutes are not so great. If there was a bit more focus on Shinichi and Musil's relationship and we actually got to see him confess, then I would say the anime is overall great. Sadly, that's not what we got, but even so, the rest of the show is pretty good, so I can't complain too much. Outbreak's cast is pretty solid. All the main characters are fun and likable, and a lot of the side characters are decent as well. As for Shinichi, he's thankfully a good harem protagonist. I like how he's a huge otaku and takes teaching the culture so seriously. He's pretty smart, he can be perverted, and he's also funny too. Petrolka's cousin Gallius is also fun as well, even though he doesn't get too much screen time. But anyway, you guys aren't interested in them, right? You're interested in seeing the waifu wars, where I rank each girl from worst to greatest. It's coming and shitting and pissing time.
Then do the Harlem Shake.
That's a war face! Now let me see your war face!
Minori Koganuma. As I said, I enjoy all the main characters in the show, and that of course includes the waifus. I like them all, and it's really difficult to rank them from worst to best. But if I had to choose, I'd say Minori is the worst. Don't get me wrong, she has nice Francescas, she got some good laughs out of me, plus she could probably kick my ass too. But even so, I don't think all of that can prevent her being at the bottom, which I guess makes me top then. We don't know too much about her besides the fact that she's like Shinichi, who has no other relatives alive. She also likes yaoi, which is just ew, 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 ew. You know what? Forget what I said. Keep her at the bottom. She deserves it.
May I present for the very first time, Princess Twilight Sparkle.
Petrolka and El Dante. Petrolka is the Empress of Ohio, and she's very funny. She screams a lot and is a big soon. I'm not normally a fan of tsunderes, but Petrolka is definitely one of the better ones. I said this on my Mermaid and Familiar of Zero video, but it's important to understand why a tsundere acts the way they do. Like I said, Petrolka's parents were killed by her aunt and uncle, which meant she had to take over as ruler. Part of her doesn't want to be Empress, especially since she didn't have much of a childhood. I get why she would be frequently angry, and I can see why she acts mean toward Shinichi too. He's in love with an elf despite her being ruler of an entire kingdom. Also, like I said, she's consistently funny and has a lot of good moments. Usually I don't like tsunderes because they're obnoxious and annoying, but Petrolka is funny, so I don't mind. Musil Foran. Musil, or should I say Incel, is second best girl, and she's pretty good too. She's Shinichi's servant and will do anything he says. So if Shinichi said, "Hey elf on the shelf, let me hit that clit," she'd say, "Okay." She's an elf and has magical powers, although she rarely uses them, which is weird. Maybe she could have used some of those powers to suck her master's pina colada.
What the dog doing?
Elbia Hanai Man. Although barely, or should I say dogly, best girl in Outbreak Company is Elbia. She's a cute, big-breasted artist dog girl, and that's spicy goodness because I'm a horny son of a bitch. No pun intended. Elbia might not be the most developed tee-hee funny tit joke, but she's dumb, funny, and cute, so that makes up for it. I definitely know what the dog was doing because I was the one doing it.
What the fuck?
Outbreak Company was animated by Studio Feel, and oh boy, they make me feel something alright. Oh shit, I already used that joke. Twice. Outbreak Company was animated by Studio Feel, and I sure do want to feel me some of them titties. Yeah, boy. In all seriousness though, the show looks great. It's very well animated, character designs are solid, lighting is good, and the backgrounds are great too. It's so fun looking at all the posters and covers in them and seeing what anime and manga they're a parody of. Even if you haven't seen a shit ton like me, I'm sure there's at least some you'll recognize. The soundtrack is alright, not bad or generic or anything like that, but it's still just okay. I listened to all of it on Spotify because YouTube took it down for being too epic, I guess. It was decent, but I wouldn't listen to any of the tracks again besides some special CD songs that weren't in the anime. Actually, no, I lied. There is one track I, as well as everyone else who's seen the show, remembers because of how fucking bizarre it is. Here, take a listen to this.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da dinna da dinna da da dinna da.
What the fuck is this? It sounds like the singer is having a stroke.
Good night, everybody.
Anyway, besides the soundtrack, there's its English dub by Sentai, which is pretty good. Everyone does at least a good job, but there are some great performances like Petrolka, Shinichi, and Gallius as actors. It's not a must-see dub, but still, if you like or are fine with dubs, then check it out. Well, that was Outbreak Company, and surprisingly, it was notably better than I remember it being. Besides having a disappointing last few minutes, which wasn't even that bad, the entirety of it is pretty enjoyable. The concept is dumb, but the writing can be genuinely good for some reason. The cast is really good, plus the art is great too. I know I've been saying nothing but positive things about the show the entire time, but even so, I don't think it's amazing or anything. It's just a super consistent show that's all around really good. Pretty much everything is above average, but there's nothing in it that blew my mind JFK style. So with that, I'm giving Outbreak Company a 7.81 out of 10.
I got a boner!
Well, that was the anime, and there is a manga, although currently it's not fully translated and dumped online. So because of that, I won't be going over it in this video. Once, or if it ever gets put online, then I guess I'll make a quick follow-up video.
Water.
But as for now, that's going to be it for Outbreak Company as well as this video. If you liked it, you can leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, or even support me on Patreon.
Oh,
Anyway, hey guys, I guess that's it.